Hollywood for me is something which has always been something of a dream when I was a young boy, to work in Hollywood. My father being in the industry 50 years before I started. You know, I was born into the industry, and therefore it was a goal to achieve. And since I've been here in Hollywood the last year and living in actual residence within the community, I find it absolutely wonderful. My wife finds it wonderful, and to me it's the ultimate place to be, especially if you're in the industry, because when you wake up in the morning it is film from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. Fancy film made in with a medieval period setting of kind of a man, I suppose one could call him a medieval Tarzan, and striving through part of his life to avenge the killing of his family and the village that he lived in. This is the village that he lived in, and as you can see from here that the huts are built on stilts, and the stilts are approximately 35 or 30 feet high.
How was it, Danny? Great. How'd it work out for you? The hardness, wasn't it? I got some great people running around the program and stuff in here, you know, all these guys back and forth. I just took my 2 limits and just kept panning, you know, left to right. With the handheld? No, he never got into that. He told me not to. Chuck decided the last minute not to get in the handheld. Right on. Danny! Wow.
John is very funny. He's always very well dressed, and he always wears very subdued colors, you know, the grays, and, you know, it's like the grayscale, his wardrobe. But it's very handsome. I mean, he's a handsome man. And cinematographers, I think all the cinematographers I've worked with have a nature that in common about them, and that's a quietness, a sort of a security about them, self-confidence, but very quiet and not bragging in any way.
And there's another one down farther on the left-hand side we can bring out. Okay?
Chuck!
And then we have a floating one here.
Have you put any lights in any of the windows?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So we see one. So Dennis!
Dennis over there?
You know what I need, right?
What?
You know what I need? Alcott. Working
Got one there.
That one's going between the doorway and the window.
Yeah.
Just.
Oh yeah, I'm directing the picture, and it's my first time working with John, and it's a fantastic experience to not have to have the pressure. Of course it is to have somebody that can light as fantastically as John, but for me it's also a learning experience because I've, you know, to be able to make a film and at the same time be able to watch and learn from a master is a fantastic experience for me.
Get in here! Come on, easy! No! Come on, get in here! All right, get in here! No! Get up there!
That's a good boy, Chip. Good boy.
We'll go right away.
I never had any interest in becoming a cinematographer until 1965 when I met Stanley Kubrick. On starting the shooting of 2001, that was Jeff Unsworth's film, and he could not complete the whole film, so Jeff left and I was given the chance by Stanley to take over. It was then, even before then, that I decided this is what I wanted to do, because here was the first time that probably natural light had been used in its full extent in the industry, in the term that the photography was obtained by natural light within the set itself. And this, more or less to me, was what I was looking for. Suddenly it clicked with me that this is the idea that I had in mind.
So now it was to be Georgie the General, saying what we should do and what not to do, and dim as his mindless, grinning bulldog. But suddenly I vidded that thinking was for the gloopy ones, and that the omni ones used like inspiration and what bog sends. For now it was lovely music that came to my aid. There was a window open with a stereo on, and I vidded right at once what to do.
I concern myself and all the time with lights and lighting the set. I leave the operating and composition to the operator, and I work with most operators most of the time. He works with me on most pictures and most commercials, and I stick to one operator all the time if I possibly can, because he knows my style, he knows what I want, he knows the way I'm going, he knows the type of light I'm going to use and what I'm going to use practical lights as my source lights, and therefore he frames them in the picture as much as possible, even if it comes down to candles or oil lamps or anything which may be of natural light source.
Oh boy, yeah. Well,
Timey's eyes through the lens. No.
Yes.
You don't want to do this now, honestly. No. It's terrible, isn't it?
Different being on the other side,
awful,
isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I'll feed you a couple lines, and you can say that to them. He'll feel more. He needs support. Okay, go ahead.
You could have one hand up my back.
Go ahead. Tell the man what the relationship is.
What the relationship is.
I tell you, it's awfully important, though, because if it doesn't work right, it doesn't come right on this side of the camera. And when it works right, whatever that relationship is, it's as though the two of them are one single person, one entity. How's that? Sound like something you said?
Sounds good. Did I say that?
Yeah, you were wonderful. Oh, I love the way you talk.
As a group working with John Alcott, I find that he is a man who knows exactly what he's doing, affects us all, and makes us want to do our job more cleanly and better, and work harder. And,
much harder work?
No, it makes the work easier because you're sure of what you have to do, because you see how sure he is of what he's doing. You have a lot of confidence that he's doing things correctly. Confianza.
And you will all perish by his hand. Will you dare that fate? You will not be saved until all are satisfied.
A cinematographer doesn't have to be a hard or tough man. He has to be a man who knows what he's doing, knows film, understands light, understands people too, understands how to have people to work for him.
No matter where you go in this world, if you're trying to achieve something, and no matter who it is, has something else that can give you some idea to make it better, then you learn by it. I mean, that's what it is. One should never imagine that by going to school at a young age, that when you walk away from school that you stop learning, because you don't. You learn forever. And if you find somebody, no matter what position you're in, even if I'm in the position I'm in today, if somebody can come up and teach me something, then I'll take it and I'll make use of it. I'm not proud.
No, he's very soft, very sensitive, very soft-spoken, very gentle, very quiet, very sweet, and not cold.
We shot Barry Lyndon in Ireland, and that was something which again is different to what I've just mentioned. Here, we would go out in the morning and it would be probably raining and overcast, and then all of a sudden Ireland is a place where the weather changes very rapidly because you're in the Gulf Stream and you've got two layers. You've got a high wind and a very low wind, and they're all probably on different directions to one another, and they would separate the clouds within minutes, and you'd get a very striking effect of cloud formation and sun on the foreground, and this would just open up, and if you're ready to capture it and ready and very quick, you can really achieve beautiful effects, as we did in Barry Lyndon.
Different to any kind of other movie as far as photography was concerned, because the lighting was so, a lot of it was shot by candlelight, a lot of it was shot with sort of equipment that Stanley Kubrick had found that had never been used before really on film, that had to be, you know, used in the darkness. I think there was one on some on some Sputnik going around the world, and the other one Stanley had, you know. That could photograph completely in the dark, and that had to be, and I think it had never been used before in film, so it was quite an experience working with that. It was also quite difficult because there were times when you just couldn't even move a fraction of an inch, you know. And there were days where we would sit there and just be lit all day, you know, literally.
He is a perfectionist in every degree. He demands that everything is right, everything exact, that when he walks on the set, that it's his freedom to work, that you must be ready, and you're given every chance to be ready. I mean, there's no pushing, there's no hurrying up. It's just that because you're given all the chance in the first part, as I've been explaining, with designing the sets and making them work for you in every possible way. And if you have any questions that aren't, which you probably find that aren't, being fulfilled, then he will make sure they will be. He will go to any end to make the visual side of the film for a DP become very important.
The 18 in the tube, Jack Nicholson and I would just cringe every time we heard him say, "Okay, give me the 18 in the tube." And we were getting so disappointed. It makes furniture look great, but for faces, I don't think it does too well. We were begging for a 50 or a 75. My God, a 75. But it was very hard to make us look good. I think Stanley used the 18 to make us look just slightly distorted, which is a little bit more frightening. And for Jack, who was going slowly mad, and for me, God knows why. I mean, when we cry, I think it always can be bizarrely distorted. I think it's like crying looking into a mirror that's distorted. And that's what the 18 did for us. John tried his best, John Alcott tried his best. He even put in a word for us a couple of times saying, "Stanley, why don't you give him a 50 at least? You know, why don't we try a 50 on this one?" But no.
be grateful again to Kubrick, because without Kubrick, I know for a fact that nobody else would have spent the money to achieve these technical points for me. Because I think he is a movie-going person, a movie maker, that his whole heart is set into that, to the industry, to achieve the perfection of making films. Everybody else says to me sometimes, oh, so-and-so, or so-and-so is like Kubrick, but nobody's like Kubrick. Nobody. And you only know that when you've worked with him.
Well, Californian light, they always talk about being not a good light to shoot in the summertime. I haven't been in the summertime that much to, to really prove whether it's right or wrong. But in this time of year, now we're talking about from let's say November until March. I'm lucky, I have probably the best light that's available. Always long shadows, low soft light. It's never a top light, and this is a great advantage. I like natural light. It must be light from a source. It must be light which is natural. Exciting about making movies is, for me, the photographic aspect of making movies, the light, some light situations that one walks into and you suddenly think, my God, if you think you can capture it, because it's something there which is only there for the moment. Sometimes because the light is only right at that particular time. I think it's exciting that you can actually shoot it with the film, the lenses we have these days, and actually record it, and that's exciting. And also it's exciting because you never really see it until 3 days later, so you're living, as I call it, dangerously all the time.
Well, then I came to Los Angeles, and of course the street lights here are unbelievable. I mean, they're just like in Hollywood Boulevard, the street lights, it's like daylight. This, to me, was quite a challenge, because it was the first time I'd used fast Fuji stock. This was exciting because I could now shoot traveling along the streets of Los Angeles with artists in the car, and just using a supplementary fill to fill in when the street lights failed. When I say the street lights failed, in between the street lights, so that we still had an image on the screen. But the point was that the main source of the light was still coming from the street light.
I shoot commercials because they are films that live for a day or 2 days, and one can learn so much from young directors and different styles. One can experiment on commercials because each shot is a shot within itself. It doesn't have too much of a continuity like a film does, and therefore one can experiment, and from that one learns an awful lot to put these practices into practice on feature films, and vice versa when I go from feature to commercials.
Fantastic. I mean, when I was nominated, I woke up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to say if I win? Or what am I, it was just incredible. It was something, to look forward to for 6 weeks before the awards. When I eventually came here, 3 days before it happened, actually I got so used to it by then that it wasn't too bad, and it didn't really affect me until about 2 hours before the awards. I was with my son, who was 7 years old at that time, by the pool at the Beverly Wiltshire, and I suddenly thought, my God, this is, in 2 hours' time, it's all going to start, and what am I going to say? And then I went to pieces. Completely, I didn't know where I was or what was happening, and when we got to the Academy presentation, everybody was saying, have a drink. All I wanted to do was go and sit down and get it over with, And they said to me that everybody nominated is sitting in the aisle. So when we got there, I was about 6 seats in, and I thought, oh, well, I'm out. Therefore, I thought, oh, well, you know, I'm not on the aisle, you know. But when the award was announced and it won, well, I think I must have been in a trance. I was in a trance because I got down to the platform and I gave my little speech and I looked up all of a sudden and there was all those people in front of me and it was like, you know, as though the whole world had caved in.